we can introduce you to Morgan Howell, who's an artist whose latest project is it's really clever. It's really simple, actually, and really clever. And it's called SuperSizeArt. And basically what Morgan does is takes... Now, this may age you because you need to remember when you bought a 7-inch vinyl single and it came in that gorgeous sleeve, paper-thin sleeve, and he takes the whole square as the sleeve and the circle centre of the vinyl disc itself, and he blows them up onto huge canvases. And the book that I've got in front of me, I say it's a book, Morgan. It's a huge slab, isn't it? Welcome to the programme.
Hello. Nice to speak to you, Phil. Yeah, you could probably bludgeon somebody with it. It's yeah. I mean, it's the same size as very cleverly the same size as an album. You see, so you can slot it in with your record collection. You see what we did there?
Yeah, brilliant. So Morgan Howell at 45 RPM is the book. And it's basically these huge images then of 7-inch vinyls alongside people. So, for example, I've just opened it randomly at the page where I Can't Get No Satisfaction, the Rolling Stones, is the art image on the right-hand side. And the text on the left comes from Andrew Lloyd Webber. So you've got people to talk about what these records mean to them alongside the art. That's the nub of this, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It's been fascinating projects. I mean, this is like 10 years worth of work here. Not putting the book together, but my paintings, I started doing it like 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And when I first started painting these pieces, and you know, they're objects. They've got a real record inside with all the grooves cut into them and etc. So it's like a blow up of, but all hand painted. When I first started doing these, I was it was just for me really. I mean, they were my history, records that were in my house when I was born. You know, I've got sisters that are older than me, so it was my history and my memories that I was trying to sort of evoke. But as the years have rolled by, and I've been commissioned by various different people all over the place really to paint songs that mean everything to them. I've realised that it's not just me that these things are special to. It's it's all sorts of people. So it's been quite an experience putting it all together.
So on the actual canvases, then, because you've exhibited these, I think I'm right in saying, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, these have been exhibited all over the world. Shows in America and Russia, and lucky enough to get into the Royal Academy a couple of years ago for the 250th summer exhibition. So
how much, when you describe the groups, how much literal depth do these have? How far off the actual backboard are they coming?
They so the size of them to explain it's like if you were to put 16 7-inch singles into a big square. That's how large they are, and everything is scaled up. So the depth of the record is scaled up. So the vinyl is like 5 mil thick. Plus and instead of it being paper, it's painted onto canvas. And all of the shape of where where it's warped over, not the record's warped, but where the canvas is, the paper bag is ripped in places and whatever. So all of that is recreated, and it sits off a backing board, and is framed in a frame. That's how they're presented.
Briggy Smale has been doing detailed research on you, Morgan. Say hi to Briggy. Right. And Briggy, what have you discovered in the Brig files?
I'm obsessed with this. I think it's such a great idea. I can't believe no one has ever thought of it, but it's absolutely brilliant. I've got tons of things I wanted to ask you. But so first of all, what part of the painting is the trickiest bit? Because as you said, there's every crease, every tear on that paper sleeve, and you can see where the vinyl's nestled inside the sleeve. So what part of painting it is the trickiest bit?
Well, it's actually when it's strange, but if you're trying to reproduce a very, very badly printed sleeve that might have been printed 50 years ago that they've sold 1 million copies of, Hotel California sort of springs to mind on Electra Asylum, because it has a very it has a vignette, which is where it goes from one colour to another via a massive dot screen. So I have to paint all the dots, and they've got to be like big at the bottom and small at the top. So it's actually detailed stuff like that that takes that's a bit taxing.
So you've exhibited your work at South by Southwest Festival, which is incredible. How did that come about, and how did it feel when you saw your work at such an iconic American music festival?
Yeah, that was crazy. Well, we were sort of approached by the Department of International Trade, actually, which is a sort of a government body, and we went over there with UK music, and they were at the time. This was last year, 2019. The big story was Brexit, not not the story now. We were supposed to be there this year as well. The big story was Brexit. So they were trying to sort of talk about the effects that Brexit might have on the British music industry. That, I don't know, worth 5.2 billion or something, and they wanted to sort of demonstrate the sort of depth of influence of British music over the past 4 or 5 decades even. So they wanted my work to go out there so they could literally talk about, T-Rex and the Stones and the Specials and, the Beatles and all the rest of it, and point to the single and say, these conquered the world. And it's a really important part of our history.
Oh, wow, must have been so proud of that. I mean, I'd have loved to have seen the Americans walking around looking at what we've produced and what you've produced off the back of that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It was quite a moment indeed. Been so sort of blessed with his contributions. I mean, Andrew Marr has written this fantastic forward for me, which I think sums it up. About 4 decades really that shaped British culture, and the work sort of spans from 1953 and through the sort of sunny 1960s, and it starts getting a little bit darker about 68 with the time of the sort of riots in Paris and revolution and Jimi Hendrix and all the rest of it. Then you go through to the sort of the sexual revolution and the early 1970s and gender bending and all the rest of it. And then it gets darker, again, towards the end of the 70s, where it all gets a bit political. And we've got the, punk and the Specials and, all the imagery's a little bit more angry and serious. And I just love the way that not only do the stories reflect that social history, but the design of the sleeves themselves do. It's funny because you can't really see these things that it's such a big sort of project. I only really concentrate on one thing at a time, obviously, that I'm working on. So it's been lovely to to see all of your work in one go, and we've got people like Danny Finkelstein from the Times writing about it. Victoria Brokes, who curated the Bowie exhibition at the V&A, Dan Carey, Tony Parsons, all these fantastic people that have they're all affected by the records, by these sort of disposable cheap things that were supposed to have been chucked away, but somehow they glue themselves to you and come back in later life.
Yeah, and are actually this calendar year, they're actually the best physical form of sales as well. They're selling really well this calendar year,
isn't it?
Yeah, Briggy, go on. Do you want to come back in?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, it's a work of art what you've done, the book, and obviously your art, and how important it is now actually with what's going on at the minute. How much we're relying on music to get us through this really difficult time, and the fact that what's so beautiful about vinyl is it's tactile, and so when you're looking at your artwork, it must be amazing to sort of have it on your wall. But what I wanted to know is the people who commission you, do they send you do you do it off your own copy of that song, or do they send in their own? Do they send you their own 7-inch vinyl?
If they've got their treasured 7-inch vinyl, absolutely. And if they haven't, if they've lost it, or then together we search for it, and it's again, that's part of the process. It's I've got one particular customer who said to me when we finally tracked down the right version of the record, and it's Your Song by Elton John. And we were looking at all of the English copies, and I just wasn't getting particularly good feedback from him. And they came to visit him, and his wife came to visit me. And right at the last minute, I'd found a US sleeve and put it on the table. And as soon as he came in, he was like, "Oh my God, of course, yes, we were in America at the time. It was the American sleeve."
Oh.
And when I finished it and took it to his house, he sent me a note a couple of weeks later to say that it was more personal to him than if it had been a portrait.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite it's quite often a bit of a moment.
It is, because that's what it's like. You can smell things and it evokes a memory. But when you have your singles, your 7-inch singles, it just takes you back in time, like Shaun Ryder was saying. It's just an amazing bit of history going back in your own life as well.
Well,
fantastic.
there's been So I don't know if you know, Dan Carey is a producer. He's just worked with Fontaine's DC and Cape Tempest, and he saw one of my T-Rex pieces recently, and tasted chocolate in his mouth. And the story is in the book, but what had happened was that he'd scoffed a load of chocolate at Christmas, and I think he got caught by his dad with a T-Rex single in his hand, and he broke the single, and probably got in trouble. But the amazing thing for me, I mean, I understand if you listen to music, it takes you. There's all sorts of things that are bolted to it. I mean, we've got Dr. Julia Jones, Dr. Rock, who's a neuroscientist who talks in the book about how memories are bolted onto things. And I can imagine that when you hear a song, people have got dementia, can remember lyrics and remember how to play things when they can't remember their name. But I was quite shocked that someone would look at one of my pieces and it would make them taste something before they remembered it. That's crazy. That really is.
Now,
crazy.
listen, we're going to run out of time with you, which is a real shame because we've both really enjoyed talking to you. So, first of all, how do people get hold of the book? Because this is a beautiful piece of work, and your artwork.
Okay, well, I'm sort of known as SuperSizeArt, so I'm at SuperSizeArt. So or Morgan Howell, if you just type my name in, you'll find the website. There's a Black Dog Press is the publishers. The book is in all the bookstores. I believe it's number one in the art section in Amazon at the moment, which is.
Do you know what? I love how you stumbled there because you're too modest to tell us that. I was going to tell us that. Yeah,
of course it is. It's amazing.
Yeah, I was told to mention it. But also, I've got an exhibition at St Albans at the moment, and you come in and see the work on the wall, and I'll sign a copy for you. So.
Brilliant.
There you go.
Brilliant. There you go. And then before we go, I think we should just be honest with each other, all three of us, about our first 7-inch vinyl. So I'll tell you mine.
You can say this. Shakin'
Stevens, This Old House. That was mine.
Yeah, but it was Alvin Stardust, and ask me why. I wish it was Bowie, but it so wasn't.
And what about you, Brig?
Oh, God, Pinky and Perky, Yellow Submarine.
There you go.
Excellent. You win. You absolutely win.
For admitting it as well. I'm blushing saying it. I wanted to say Yellow Dog One More Night, but it was a little bit later than that.
If it's cool, it's not true is generally the rule on that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Morgan, thanks so much. We've really enjoyed your time, and well done for this. And I know it was 10 years in the making, but well worth it.
Yeah,
thanks for all the kind words. Thank you. Nice to talk to you.